Change will come to those who have no fear.
Hello and welcome to Until Then, our review of episode 3 of True Detective. This got out of hand extremely fast. This is it.
Very quickly.
Yes, let's go. Flame emoji, keep it 100. Everything you want to say. Yes, finally. Yes.
Not dead.
Not dead.
Not dead.
Not everyone's still alive except for the people who are dead, but they're nobodies at this point in time.
Right.
Episode 3, I can only think of one episode from season 1 that compares to it.
Okay.
That's the I think it was episode 4 when he's in the projects and there's the big shootout and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That one was awesome. It's like liquid cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
This one is right there with it in my mind. Just the amount of stuff that started happening.
Yeah,
you know?
it was kind of the kickoff point. Once from the beginning of this episode, everything started. We started the engine started revving, and all the plot lines started moving very quickly. At this point, we've seen, especially at the end, but now we have Colin Farrell's character is now moving in a new direction. Vince Vaughn's character is moving downwards direction, back into his roots.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're seeing that Rachel McAdams' character is very much the true detective, I guess, of the group right now. And then Taylor's character, he's becoming more and more interesting as the more we find out about him.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah,
the more we don't find out about him. So.
Yeah, this is really... I really adore this episode because... This is what you want to see. You want people doing things. You want Vince Vaughn, if he's going to be a mob boss, let him be a mob boss. Yeah. Having Ray in this strange purgatory thing with his dad, in that scene, this slate blank one right here, I love Twin Peaks. That opening scene, I thought I was watching Twin Peaks.
David Lynch. Very...
Exactly. As soon as I saw the blue, as soon as I saw the Conway Twitty, I was like, this is it. I'm in. Here we go. Whatever happened, that first 5 minutes.
It was cool because it didn't quite tell you right off the bat, like, oh, he's not dead. And so you were left there going, okay, is he dead?
Mm-hmm.
Is this obviously this is some type of dream scenario. We didn't really know what was going on, but it was a cool way to kind of kickstart it. And then obviously we were introduced to his dad, which was a new thread inside of his own story.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we found out that his dad was a cop, and like he is. And so we also found out that his wife showed up with the information saying that they were questioning him. And so the interaction between him and Rachel McAdams is more interesting now because it's like they trust each other, but not, they trust each other more than they do their own authority.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like they need each other. So at the same time, where last episode she was like, how corrupt are you? Or how, whatever word she used. And then this episode, when he saved her, he was like, tell me what they know about me. And she's like, I don't know.
It's very interesting because there's so many different ways. Like, he's trying to get out now. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to be a part of it. No. He's like, I've just been shot. Basically, in his mind, he died.
Right.
So he's thinking, let's get out. He even tells the Vinci people, this is a good way to get me off the case. Mm-hmm. She knows I'm bent. She knows I'm, in somebody's pocket.
But the fact that they say, no, you're good.
You're in there.
It tells you exactly what their intentions are.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what he thought, but they're not meant to solve the case. Mm-hmm. And so they realize, I think, at the end of this episode that how on their own they kind of are if they want to actually solve the case.
Yeah. And if they even do, There's a lot of times when Ray didn't seem like he wanted to, but as it kept going along,
I feel like
he's being drug into it.
I think last week's finale, like Vince Vaughn said, when the waitress asked, he's like, because he got murdered.
Yeah.
The old Colin Farrell, the old Ray was murdered, and now he's not even drinking now. It's like suddenly it was like a wake-up call for him. Maybe not even, because even the doctor's like, do you want to live? It's maybe not even that, but he's found new purpose for what he wants to do, or he just kind of has focused onto this case now.
Yeah, and speaking of that line right there, last season, 'cause we'll always do it, last season everyone talked about Rust being superhuman, being unkillable, being, more than human. He's just this hard iron thing that just can't be stopped. And then you have Ray, who's just basically everyone's like, you're going to die, you're about to die, you're going to die. He has a dream sequence where he's dead. They're just one and the same on a different, pole. It's pretty interesting how they're using the same character space to explore different topics of life and death. Instead of him being above it all, he's very much inside of it and fighting.
Yeah. And another theme that continues to go out, obviously, is the whole sex theme. There's a lot of sex themes that go on, but the main thing in this episode, and which was a continuing thing from Taylor's storyline, was Vince Vaughn not being able to get it up for his wife, trying to have a kid, not being able to get up, even though she's assisting him. And
It's not natural.
And so, but what I thought was going to happen at the end of the episode was that after beating the living crap out of the owner of the nightclub, I thought he was just going to come in, and that was going to be what him going back to being more of a man, kind of that masculinity was going to help him do what he needed to do. But it went for a turn. He didn't do it. So I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, because I was fully expecting him to be like, get in the bed, we're going to do this. And I was like, okay.
And speaking of Vince's character in the nightclub, he bumps into Taylor there, and then you kind of get the full scope of, good God, Vince is a giant man.
Yeah, because Taylor just looks up at him like it's like at least a couple feet.
Mosa? I mean, honestly, Vince is a big man.
And that's a good. I think that's a good thing, is it gives that towering presence. It's like this guy really is kind of a big threat to these people if he goes back into what he's doing, which is strange because it's True Detective and we're following the three detectives, but Vince Vaughn's doing just as much work as the detectives are. Yeah.
And speaking of detective work, it seems like the only one who's really doing stuff is Rachel. She is at this point in time, the Jon Snow kind of it.
Yeah.
She's the one who's actually progressing the plot and like saying, you need to go here, you go there, check these records, let's go to the mayor's drug house mansion orgy place. Yes, which is extremely fascinating already.
Yeah,
because usually these L.A. noir kind of shows and stuff, they keep that stuff, the elite rich, on the very outside, on the skirts of everything, and this one seems to be like forcibly dragging those people into the center.
Because there was the mansion, there was also the film set, which was also kind of a parallel, the whole end of the world thing. Because it was a post-apocalyptic Mad Max style movie, so there was a lot of kind of that stuff kind of underneath, kind of hiding out in the open, I guess. But
yeah, and it's just hard for me to say again, like how much I just enjoyed this episode, seeing these people actually do things, seeing Taylor just having to drink and drink and drink and drink and drink to keep himself from losing his mind, being surrounded by these gay guys, because obviously he's having extremely emotional issues dealing with his own homosexuality, and then he's drinking so much. On the other side, Ray says, I'm not drinking because it takes the edge off and I want to be angry. That just lets you know where they're going to be driving and where they're going to. The one character I wish we could see more of so far is Rachel. I feel like she's taken a bit of a backseat because she's having to be the engine, but with all the underlying themes of sex and her hardcore fantasies about it, I think she's going to, the next few episodes, take more of a forefront once they start getting more into that sex world. What character would you like to see, any of them, would you like to see take more of a step forward in the next few episodes?
Really, I think the two that have been the most interesting to me, or the ones that I immediately want to draw to, is Vince Vaughn and Colin. Vince had a slow start. His character, I think the monologue from last episode, he was struggling a bit with, and once he became, like we said, the mafia guy, once he was kicking ass and taking names, it suddenly he was in his comfort zone, and that's where he's best at. And Colin, it's just because his character's interesting. It's the Rusty Cole character, or Rust Cole, however he refers to himself.
I think Rusty when he was a kid.
Okay.
Then he became Rust.
But this is that character, because it's definitely the one that was spent a lot of time with building layers and different storylines going on, and especially since last episode with his just essentially going in this whole different direction.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say just how much I enjoyed it. I mean, it was a good hour of TV that just kind of really set me back thinking, this is why you watch True Detective, regardless if it's overrated or underrated.
Because there were some complaints that I heard that people were saying, oh, this is too much like CSI, or this is too much like that. What separates this from all of those shows is CSI is just about the cops, and you know there's inner arguments and stuff and relationships. But this one is dealing with the corruption that's going on in multiple departments, multiple groups, and it's the chess game that they're playing against each other is really what the story is about, and how they're using Rachel and Colin and Taylor to basically out the other group.
Yep.
That's the interest. That's the part that kind of separates it from any other crime show to me. And so.
And for the people who looking at you who are complaining, it's like CSI. It's called True Detective. You know, they have to do detective work at the end of the day. I mean, season 1, everyone focused so much on the outsides, they missed that the actual detective work ended up being kind of lackluster. I think this one's ramping up in its reveal or its finale, which it will be judged on completely. I think will hold up better than season 1's because of their taking this slow build instead of starting out at 100. So, I don't know, it's just my opinion on that. Hopefully we see more like episode 3. Hopefully we see more like this episode. Yeah. We're both pretty energetic right now. I even have a bolo on. Got that Ray life. But until then, next time, episode 4, 4 Horsemen even. We'll see you then. Until then.
The only thing worth fighting